All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another Green Square Talks Battlebots episode review podcast. So I'm here with Derin and Blaze, usual co-hosts, and then special guest. We got Ricky Williams from Mammoth here, and it's possible that other team members could be showing up at some point. So how's it going, all three of you?
Great.
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited to be here.
I have a test tomorrow.
That's a total mood.
I printed up. I printed up an
uh,
essay for Asian philosophy.
Ooh.
It's
Oh,
2,000
yeah.
words long, and I don't remember anything about this class.
I have, yeah, I have a chemistry test, so,
I love chemistry.
and I hate it. The teacher's fun, but like, I just get really bored in it right now.
That's fair.
So,
But yeah, this will be our review of the 14th episode of Battlebots, the second to last episode of the qualifying round, and always an honor to have another team on the podcast here with us, discussing the episode with us. That's the most fun part about doing these podcasts, like getting to talk about it with some of the teams. So it's an honor to have you on here, Ricky. So
Yeah, thanks for having me. I haven't gotten to talk through this episode yet, so it's a good opportunity.
absolutely. So yeah, before we start talking about Mammoth and Kraken, because that's what we're going to start this podcast off with, just as a warning, if you haven't seen the episode yet, we will be talking about the results, so beware of
Gosh darn it.
spoilers. So, all right, let's go ahead and talk about the most important fight at least this podcast.
I heard there are some Mammoth fans in our midst.
Yeah, we got
Yep.
one in this. So,
no,
yeah.
we don't.
Wow. The person who's constantly commenting about how Mammoth beat Cobalt in one of my RA2
It
comps
did. It did, though.
starts talking like there's no Mammoth fans in here.
The funny thing is that if
Just be
I'm
my
wearing
ass,
my
I
Mammoth
suppose, then.
shirt,
What was that, Ricky?
Me too. I said I'll just be on my way then. No Mammoths here. No Mammoth fans here.
aw.
It's all right.
But yeah, so we're starting off the podcast with Kraken and Mammoth, which I believe is fight number 5 during the episode. Most important fight of this card to some of us, and was a pretty critical.
True.
It was a very critical fight for both robots coming into this one, because Mammoth currently probably in need of a victory in order to stay in the running for the playoffs, and then Kraken sadly winless right now. But yeah, so Ricky, what was kind of the strategy coming into this match then?
Well, Mammoth has had a rough season this year. We had gearbox problems day one. And so our drive system exploded, and we completely re-engineered it more than once during the season. So it's basically my entire intent in this fight was to go in there and not blow up our drive system. Go in and try to hope that the work that we did in between fights was enough to keep the robot driving and operating and safe. I shouldn't say safe. It wasn't going to hurt anybody, but driving and operating well enough that we weren't in danger of having a catastrophic failure is essentially what I'm trying to say. And then after that was just to lay on that weapon as absolutely much as we could. And try and jam their spinner up. Matt had a lot of trouble getting the drive system on Kraken up to speed over the course of the filming as well. They were having their own drive issues, tuning problems on their not just on their drive, on all of their motors, their brushless systems. So I was just really hoping that my team had done enough in between fights to get the robot up to snuff and working well. Other than that, I really wanted to flip him out of the arena. I've wanted to fight Kraken. We'd fought Kraken in, 2018, 2017 down at Orlando Maker Faire.
Ooh.
And yeah, it was we fought them before ever getting to come to Battlebots. And we had beat them down there with a very old version of Mammoth. they couldn't really self-right at the time, and they got stuck up against a wall, and we won the fight. But I'd always wanted to do it in the battle box now that we have this much more powerful robot, and we could hook, one of those big teeth that Kraken historically had. And they show up this year, and they're vertical spinner. So we could no longer do the big hook on the tooth and throw them up in the air the way I was hoping we were going to, but I'm still glad that we got the chance to fight them.
Absolutely. Maybe you'll get a chance at Destructathon if Mammoth and Kraken fight in that, if they haven't already, since that's
Yeah, far as I know, they haven't fought yet. I get pretty good updates from how the Destructathon is going, and I think currently they really like us fighting. It's funny. It went through this pattern of not pattern. It went through this series of different robots that they thought they were going to have us fight. Originally, it was going to be Ginsu. And then they were talking about having us fight Malice, and they settled on Overkill. And Overkill, has that big blade with the big circular holes in it. So there's a big thing that we can pick them up and just dangle them in the air if we want, which is kind of neat. And drop them out of the arena if we want to. And it's a neat match because it's also one that shows off the kind of power behind that spinner. Our trunk doesn't spin that fast, but it does still have a lot of oomph behind it, and it can take off big chunks of tires. It can anything that isn't armor, it can really take apart pretty well. So it's a fun fight to watch, and I think we're doing pretty well. I know we haven't won every fight, but overall we've done pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned a few times during this podcast how Mammoth seems to be known for doing some unexpected damage, if that makes any sense, because last season made Lucky's flipper crooked, and then I know there were probably a couple other examples that I'm not thinking of, but
yeah, it's being that it's an unusual robot, it will cause unusual issues for other people, and
oh yeah,
that has always been one of our big strengths, is try to lean into the fact that no one knows how to fight a mammoth. Even if they fought a mammoth before, there's enough difference, season to season or even fight to fight, that people are never going to know what to expect.
Absolutely. Oh, well, Derin or Blaze, you two want to talk about the fight?
Okay, I'll be honest. I had Kraken winning this because I completely expected the spinner of Kraken to hit a chain or cut through the metal tube things, and just I was proven wrong. Fair point. But damn, Kraken just this is just they were okay in the first couple hits. They got hits. They didn't really seem to do much to them, to Mammoth. Then they just kind of died after all their tread fell off their wheels, which was depressing. And then they got bullied in the corner for 2 minutes, just getting flapped and constantly flipped over, which was more depressing. Someone from Florida. Let's see here. From what I know, the Kraken team only was able to run one weapon motor in that fight, and thus so the spinner time was slower. And then treads started falling off their wheels, so they had to lift up the arm so it wouldn't hit the ground.
Mm-hmm.
The target for Mammoth to hit. So yeah, Kraken's not been having a good season. They have a lot of growth.
Sure. It's funny. We were talking Destructathon stuff, but I spent a while fixing the Destructathon Kraken. I spent a half a day when I was out there in Vegas, just getting their motors set up correctly and everything. And if they just take those settings and they slap them on current Kraken, I think they'd have a really potent machine. But I am still sorry to have knocked out the hometown heroes, so to speak.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Given your Florida heritage.
Yep.
Blaze, have robots and Battlebots.
You want to talk about the fight, Blaze?
This fight was the best fight of the episode. Definitely, 100%. I mean, Mammoth won, so therefore it's the best fight. Trust me.
I mean, personally, I'd agree. This was actually my favorite fight of the episode, to be completely honest.
Yes.
So, any other thoughts, Blaze?
I do feel kind of sad that Kraken had another winless season. And I mean, they had a very weird schedule. I mean, it was gonna lose 3 of its fights no matter what, pretty much. And then I had Beta, which was a very close fight. Probably could have gone either way. But yeah, was hoping for at least Kraken to go 1-3, but oh well.
Yeah,
I was too, if I'm honest with you. And not just in the selfish way of I want to beat robots with other wins on their belt, but I really do love Kraken. I was really hoping they'd come together as a robot this season, but most robots have a little bit of a learning curve when they go for something drastically different. So, and especially the build season was so rushed this year. I'm really hoping it comes together into something awesome for next season.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was pretty sure this was a rushed build, and I personally wasn't expecting the beginning of the season we were going to see Kraken, but I'm glad we did, but still unfortunate that it went winless during the qualifiers. I'm guessing we'll probably see it at Champions or an exhibition fight. So, but Kraken's definitely been improving quite a bit ever since the first fight they had with Beta, and like it's definitely been driving a lot better in those, especially those last 2 fights. And Spinner is pretty deadly, I'd still say, even if it was running on one motor on this one. But regarding the fight, I think it's pretty much simply Ricky just outdrove Matt Spurk on that one. I like definitely kept the front towards Kraken really well to prevent Kraken from getting to like the wheels, which quite a few opponents were able to take advantage of in some of Mammoth's previous fights. But yeah, that obviously helped Mammoth out a lot, and eventually disabled the spinner and disabled quite a bit of the drive as well. We were talking about unexpected damage early on. Looks like he managed to bend part of the head of Kraken, at least partway into that match, from what I was seeing, at least from the end of that match, which is pretty incredible stuff. And
Yeah,
I definitely think this was a very quality victory for Mammoth, and probably needed that for this for when Battlebots determines who gets into the top 32.
yeah. Our goal was absolutely to at least have parity the uh, going into the bracket. At least have a 2-2 record. That was the benchmark for have we done well enough? We were hoping, of course, for 3-1 or 4-0, but we got a 2-2. I felt pretty good about our preseason. I wish they'd been more dramatic and strong wins and dramatic knockouts. But I was still glad that we got a pair of wins in. I think it went a long way for helping the team really feel like we'd done the good job that we wanted to do.
Yeah, including it looked like it was driving quite well in this thing too.
You
So
know, I'm glad we fooled you. It's so the system we put in there, I'd completely ripped out the entire drive system going into this fight and put in a new one that I've never tried before, and tuned it as best I could. And by the end of the fight, it was overheating badly and slowing down. And I was just like going. You're right. There was a lot of driving skill, but all the driving skill went into just me being as careful as possible not to overheat the drive system and have it shut down. And like we just barely made it. And it worked, but it was like, it was so painfully close.
I'm guessing.
And after the,
I'm guessing that's the reason why it looked like Mammoth lost drive at the end of that match.
yeah, it's funny. We got to the end of the match and the drive was still working, but I'm like, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to touch it because I know the refs are going to say, "Hey, can you move for us? Can you prove that your robot works?" After the match is over. So I'm like, I'm completely just waiting for it and hoping the robot cools down a little bit so that I can drive in a convincing manner.
Gotcha,
And they don't really
sense.
show it in the episode, but yeah, I'm just conserving every little last bit of motor heat so that the thing can move under its own power at the end of the match. And it did, thankfully. It worked out. But I was paranoid that the buzzer was going to go off, and Lisa and friends were just going to sit there and be like, "Well, it doesn't move now." I'm like, "Just wait 10 seconds, it'll move." But it worked. It worked out, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah, glad it worked out, and glad that I was fooled and didn't notice that. That was the case,
Yeah.
but was still
Mammoth
was still
is
convincing regardless.
nominal. Perfect. That's all. That's all we're going for.
Yep. I mean, gotta get the April Fool's Day jokes in there somewhere, so even if it is a little late.
Yeah. What do you mean? It's April 1st today. Trust me.
Yeah. So, was there any major damage after this match?
I mean, the main damage coming out of that was saying, "Oh, this robot is still overheating, and I need to completely change the drive system again and get that ready for our next fight and make it in a way that it can drive quick." Mammoth doesn't work unless I can drive quickly, and I was lucky that I was able to drive well enough in that last fight that slow and careful was enough. But I knew going up against whoever we were going to have next was going to be less likely to be so forgiving against a slow drive system. So we did a bunch of work to what we did actually is we made new custom gearboxes and added them in between the motors and the existing gearboxes. So we were running like this human centipede of gearboxes or this mammoth centipede of gearboxes in a row, which gave us the performance we wanted. We just didn't know if that was going to hold up either. It was all a big experiment this year, which is never where you want to be, but you got to do what you got to do.
Oh yeah, fair. So Derin, Blaze, should two of you and myself we talk about top 32 status for both these robots, similar to what we've done the past few episodes.
Mammoth number 1
I'll
seed.
go first. I go.
Go ahead, Derin.
Mammoths. Okay, they beat. Wait a second. They lost to Valkyrie. They beat.
Star Child.
Yeah, and then they lost to someone else.
Death Roll.
Thanks. And they won against an 0-4 Kraken. You've only beaten robots that have 0-4 records. You might. Yeah. You might get in, but I wouldn't expect a very high seed. If I'm being
They're gonna get number 1 seed.
You'll probably squeak in, but it won't be that high. I don't think. No offense, but
no offense taken.
All right, let me.
You had 2 judge decision wins actually. Judge decision worth more than a KO? I'm not gonna get it. One is you're probably in just very low. Kraken, no, they're 0-4. I do not. There is never really an argument for an 0-4 robot making. They're sadly out this year. Rest in peace, Kraken. Please come back next year and kick some serious butts.
Well,
right,
go ahead.
All right, I went and found my seeding predictions from Green's game. I have Mammoth at the 29th seed.
It's fair.
Which
I'm curious who you have at 32, 31, and 30.
I have Fusion at 32, Big Deal at 31, and Triton at 30.
Ooh, that's fair.
Gotcha.
And then weird takes on Kraken.
The Kraken's out. Unless they have a last chance rumble or something, Kraken is not making it in. And also, seeing predictions are correct. Mammoth would fight Ripperoni, which is hilarious, and I kind of want to see that.
Oh, that'd be dope, to be honest.
You know what's a fun fact, actually, is Ripperoni is running on Mammoth batteries.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, they had some battery issues where their batteries were literally catching fire, and we lent some batteries to them and stuck them in there, and they worked out pretty well for them. So it was nice going into this fight, being like, even if we lose, even if we don't make top 32, a little piece of Mammoth absolutely going into the bracket.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Wow. I mean, you're going to make the number 1 seed. Trust me.
I'm there. I'm hoping you're right.
Well, my takes on this, I'll share Kraken first, because I agree with Derin and Blaze that sadly I think Kraken is done for. Well, for sure done for, which is unfortunate just because yeah, there was a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype for this new version of Kraken, and sadly, they've just been plagued by gremlins. And hopefully, they come back next season with an even better robot, and hopefully, we get to see it kick some butt, like Derin said. Because I think this new version of Kraken has a lot of potential to make a lot of noise in the competition once they have like the drive and the weapon completely figured out and everything. So then, as for Mammoth, I currently have Mammoth on the bubble right now. As for, or currently because right now 2-2, probably like a little bit of a weaker strength of schedule, but then high quality of performance though, because two I would say pretty strong wins against Star Child and Kraken, and then had a moment or two in both the Valkyrie and the Death Roll fights, but
Those were such frustrating losses.
yeah.
The both of those fights we were doing so well, and then just had sudden, unforced error problems where our system broke because of stuff that we hadn't done, hadn't tested well enough ahead of time.
Yeah.
And if we had just dotted our I's and dotted our T's, or crossed our T's a little bit better, I think we might. It would have been a toss-up with Death Roll, I think. But Valkyrie, we absolutely could have beaten if we had just.
You would have beaten Death Roll.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a good shot before our drive system just shredded itself internally.
Not to mention,
if you can beat Cobalt, who beat Death Roll,
then obviously we can beat Death Roll.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's. I mean, this is a truism in general, but when everything works right, everything works really well. It's amazing how just the little follow-through moments on everything you're putting together really make the difference between having a great season and a season where things just kind of like it's a coin flip. And we had a coin flip season this year. I'm really hoping that next year we show up and don't let it happen again.
Not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've got a nice shelf for it here. It's waiting. It's just needs that nut.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah, to finish what I was talking about there, as for what I have in the bubble right now, as for lots of those 1-3s and kind of weaker 2-2s, like Mammoth is probably near the top of the list. So overall, I probably would predict Mammoth does make bracket, but I would probably have Mammoth at one of the lower seeds. But never know, we might see a repeat of 2020. We get to see Mammoth make a bunch of noise in the bracket. So,
I'm
all season, and but yeah, watch us see a repeat of 2020 where Mammoth boots out the robot civilian Arcads winning the whole thing because he had Copperhead winning the whole thing that year, and Mammoth kind of put an end to it that year. And
that's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
Mammoth.
Spoiler.
Watch Mammoth beat Riptide. Trust me, guys. Mammoth is
Oh,
gonna
I
beat Riptide.
love that, to be honest. Not that I have anything against the Riptide team, but like after basically like well, here's my point basically. Like after seeing Riptide just absolutely decimate their first 4 opponents in quick fashion, getting to see Mammoth take them out like that would just be epic to see, and like oh my gosh, that'd be incredible if that actually happens. But
trust me, guys, that's gonna happen.
But yeah, I would consider Mammoth for the bracket because I think out of all the robots I have in the bubble, Mammoth is probably near the top of that list right now. but probably expect Mammoth to go up against a really hard opponent. So, but we'll see.
Like Riptide, who they're gonna beat.
Yeah, as for my prediction thing that Blaze was talking about with my predicted seedings, I actually have a rematch between Mammoth and Huge based on where I have them placed. I believe I have Mammoth placed right at the 30 seed, I think. And I don't.
Again? Wow.
Yeah, I think right down below, I think I had Valkyrie if I remember right, and who was the other one? I think it was Fusion at 31 if I remember right. But
Yeah, it's in the Discord, right?
I haven't posted mine actually, so you wouldn't
Yeah,
be
I
able to.
posted yours. Oh man,
So
I should
I
probably.
will.
get
I
mine.
will soon though. But
That makes sense. Yeah.
Well, obviously, no one knows what's going to happen here for sure. But
oh yeah,
Well, you do.
I just sitting on the edge of my seat waiting to find out.
yeah.
Okay.
But I will say that that was almost exactly the prediction that we had as well. Going into the brackets, we were expecting that we were going to be right, on the lower end of that top 32, and that they were going to have a rematch up against Huge. So that is kind of what we started preparing for after that fight. Getting the robot ready with the anticipation that we were going to go up against Huge.
Yeah. And then maybe if that does happen, we get another incredible performance because that was one of my favorite fights in that
Huge
entire.
again. Let's go.
Mammoth and Huge from that season was one of my favorite fights of that entire season. So maybe we'll get a round 2 of it. But Hooray.
Exactly.
Anything else on this fight, or any questions for Ricky on this match? I know Derin, you typically have a usual question.
Oh yeah! How did I freaking forget this? My goodness. You remember things better than I do.
Apparently.
Anyway, so Ricky,
Mhm.
if you could go back and redo one of your losses, like in Battlebots or something, which fight would it be, and what would you do differently?
Ooh, any of our losses?
Yes.
Or this season?
Any of your losses in any season.
Yeah, because I know
Ooh, that is-
Scorpios named off their uppercut fight from 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Tombstone fight, I would go back and I would replace those the cruddy bolts that we used to hold in our drive pod, and we would have beat Tombstone.
Yeah, it's crazy how close you guys actually got to beating Tombstone. And
I know
it's
there's like 4 of
Go ahead.
us that think Mammoth should have beaten Tombstone. And I'm one of them, obviously. But I know Pori and Civilian Earth were talking, like, over the summer that Mammoth should have beaten Tombstone. I could probably pull up the messages, but I don't want to.
of course.
My opinion coming out of that fight is that it shouldn't have gone to a judge's decision because we ended up being able to move well enough along the on one wheel we ended up being able to move well enough around the arena to show translational movement. But if it was going to go to a judge's decision, I think they were correct to choose Tombstone.
Yeah, it was a correct decision, but like Mammoth should have won by knockout.
Yeah, they didn't, and the way they cut it for television didn't do us any favors in that regard. It wasn't dramatically different, but it did. We did end up looking better in person than we did on the TV screen.
That's fair. Yeah, because like my takes on it at least. Originally, yeah, I was on Blaze's side, at least. I do think Mammoth should not have been counted out just because of that one moment there, but then I eventually just stopped taking sides on stuff like that just because there were lots of inconsistencies on the movement rules. And which is why I'm glad they changed it to this type of system this year, because like while there definitely have been downsides, like on Multiplier vs. Malice, for example, my big problem with the movement rules last season was the inconsistency, and the rules are consistent this year, so which is why I'm absolutely supportive of these new movement rules. So
Yeah, in general, almost every builder and I think most of the fans are fine with most sets of rules as long as we know what to expect and how to play to our strengths and play to the best strategy that's going to give us the best chance to either win or put on a good show or both.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I think it has been a worthy set of changes and upgrades to the rules.
And shout out to Minotaur for suggesting that too. So, but if Civilian Arc was here, I bet he probably would ask you this question. I might as well ask it for him, just because he might want me to. Who would win between Gravot and Ghost Raptor, like immediately after the Cobalt fight, like before they even repaired the robot or anything like that?
I will admit I have a tiny secret love of Grabot. It was such a silly creation. I wanted to see it grab something. I wanted to see it do Grabot things. And yet Ghost Raptor probably would have won.
I think that's like one of the first times we've heard Ghost Raptor is the answer to that. That's incredible. I was really hoping to see Grabot fight Gemini that year, because I feel Gemini is like one of the best robots where Grabot could possibly get a hold of them and possibly do a little lifting or something. But yeah, sadly we didn't get to see its full potential.
Having fought Gemini, it hits surprisingly hard.
Oh yeah.
I think it would have been amazing to see Gemini like just rip off both of Grabot's arms simultaneously.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah. Should we move on to the next fight then?
Let's do it.
Okay, so fight number 2, we got. Oh no, this isn't fight number 2. This is actually the lead-off fight of the episode because we changed up the order. But it's Huge and Star Child, the other battle, the big boys that we got this year. The other one being Star Child versus Mammoth, and battle between 0-3 Star Child and 3-0 Huge. So a bit of a difference in record for this one, and I gotta say this was another really fun showdown. This one probably ranks number 2 between my favorite fights of the entire episode, and it was a pretty solid banger to lead it off. So, Derin, you want to lead it off since it looks like you're itching to speak about this one?
I feel so bad for Star Child, man. They just got shafted this year with the schedule. They never faced like a single really conventional meta robot, except for maybe Overhaul, only because they had like 4 wheels and were vaguely rectangle shaped. I don't think like Star Child is designed to face like 4-wheel drive verts and like short verts, like they meta.
And also verts.
Yep.
Verts, and some more
They
verts.
never faced a single like normal design. They faced the skinny, they faced the anorexic elephant, they faced Huge, they faced Overhaul, which I think is the closest you could call the conventional, and then Gigabyte. So I just feel so bad for this robot. They got destroyed in this fight. Like their weapon was even ripped off, completely off, and then landed on like a screw box. That I just found that very funny. They got completely neutered, and then I mean, kudos. They made it to the end of the fight, but just hey, they at least made it, so they're at least resilient. I can say that.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Blaze, you want to talk about?
Yeah, Brandon.
You go ahead.
I was gonna say none of that team is gonna give up early.
Oh yeah. I'm guessing that's Blaze temporarily hopping off at least to do whatever he's doing, but I'll go ahead and talk about this match myself. So, like Derin said, I'm very impressed with Star Child's durability, especially in a match like this. Like, they just took hit after hit from Huge, and that thing just would not tie until like the last 10 to 15 seconds of the match. And also, like Derin said, like, that was a brutal schedule that they gave Star Child, because definitely not many. They definitely did not get many opponents that they were built to have like a huge design advantage over, at least for this one. The only one you could really consider with that is Overhaul, and that was a really fun fight in itself. But yeah, it's unfortunate that they got so many opponents that have like a major design advantage against them, and hopefully we'll get to see something like that in Champion. Since I hopefully we'll see Star Child back. Hopefully they were able to repair that robot after the beating they took here, but then on Huge's end, another rock solid performance. Huge is continuing to look good for this year, and definitely heard a lot about how well they built up that robot ever since previous seasons, and they've been showing that very well this year, and that's not just because of their record. It's been performing better than it has ever before, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what
Yep.
Huge is going to be able to do in brackets. So, uh,
Yeah,
Blaze,
Jonathan has done some really wonderful things in advancing that robot and improving what works and fixing what doesn't. So, I don't know. We were all really happy to see it working so well. We did want to see maybe a little more of a shining moment for Starchild coming through, but I think at the same time we were all pretty excited for Jonathan's victory. So
yeah, combination of that and yeah, there probably wasn't much more that I think Starchild really could have done, at least in this one, and as for what Starchild was going for. But yeah, always happy to see happy to see a 4-0 Huge after the previous 2 seasons of watching it go. I think 1-2 both. No, went 2-1 last season, but strong 4-0. So yeah, Blaze, Blaze, you want to talk about the match?
All right. So I know damn well that if Mantine was here, which I'm glad that he's not, to my knowledge, because he would be flaming me for my takes that Starchild was gonna win, which would have been hilarious, might I add. But no, I'm happy that Huge ended up going 4-0, even though people in Uda are now going to be have a hard on for Huge again. And where I put Huge is because I assume that's what we're on right now.
Yep.
All right. Give me a quick second. I put Huge at the number 7 seed with a fight against. Just give me a second. With a fight against Jackpot.
Ooh. That'd be an interesting showdown. Actually, I actually now really want to see that because I think that's similar to Huge and Uppercut to an extent, but I think Uppercut's definitely the better, like the more powerful and probably the more durable spinner between the two of them. So I think that'd be repeat of that,
I
but
don't
Huge
know
is
who
I think a better
won
shot.
that.
But that'd be an awesome showdown. I hope we get that sometime actually. So.
Well, we'll get it in the bracket because my bracket's 100% accurate. Trust me, folks.
We'll see. We'll find out next. We'll find out this Thursday. So,
If that actually turns out to be true, I am.
if that happens, I'll let you. I'll give you first place for my entire prediction game, no matter how badly you do in the remainder episodes. So.
Oh, don't worry, I'll throw.
Uh,
Didn't you say something like that last week when I had the stupidest prediction ever?
I know we said that if you got Star Child right for this prediction, that I'd let you win that entire week worth of predictions.
Oh,
so,
the week, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't, but it. Battlebots, come on, make it happen. Trust me. Trust me, you can do this in like
Derin,
5 days.
Derin, you want to share your stance on their top 32 status?
Huge is definitely in. Is definitely out. Because, well, duh. 4-0, they're definitely in. Not sure where. Starchild, again, 0-4, they're out.
Yeah. My takes on it pretty much about the same as Darren's. I have Starchild unfortunately out. Hopefully we'll get to see them make some noise in Champions or Exhibition or something if they do return for that, because I think Starchild's just one of those many robots where I don't think we've seen the full potential of it yet, and hopefully we'll get to see it in an upcoming match if they have any more this year or next season too, possibly. So, uh, as for Huge, 4-0, the second robot at least televised wise to be able to get that record, and uh, I have them at the 3 seed right now, but I think they're without a doubt at least a top 10 seed, probably a top 5 seed, but we'll see. So. Anything else on this match, or should we move on to the next showdown? All right, we got Battle of the Omnis for this one. Ominous and Shatter, another must-win fight for both robots, but especially Shatter right now. Ominous was sitting at 1-2 coming into this one with a win against Shreddit Bro, but then losses to Claw Viper, who's been looking great this year, and Switchback, who they were arguably winning that fight for reasons that Derin was probably implying right there.
Was Shredder fight a win?
I don't know, but anyway, and then
I
Shatter on the
don't.
other side, another robot that's just been having such a rough season this year. 0-3 right now. Started off with what I think is the worst possible opponent they could have drawn, drawing Huge to start it off, and then losses to Beta, and then what was an incredible fight with Horizon, even though they didn't come out on top in that one. Really glad to see Horizon win that fight because I really wanted to see Horizon work in at least one fight, and we got it. So, uh, yeah, these two Omni-Wheel driven robots clashed in the battle box in this episode, and yeah, y'all want to talk about the match? Share your thoughts on it?
Um, do I have to?
Yes.
Well, might as well
Contractually
get this over
obligated.
with. Ah, gosh darn it! Should have signed that contract with Satan. I mean, what? Uh, this fight was probably the worst fight of the episode. It started off really good, and then about like halfway through, both bots started to have some sort of struggle with either their drive or what with their both bots really with the drive. I mean, for part of the fight, Shatter was only really moving around using their weapon, but in the end, I'm glad that Shatter ended up winning because I think that's probably the right decision. And maybe we'll see them, maybe we won't. Who knows?
Yeah. You want to share your thoughts, Darren?
Well, this is a pretty fun fight, I guess, to watch because they're both Omni Drive, so that was cool. I think the reason that Ominous was having issues in particular with the drive is because Shatter managed to hit like a cover over one of the drive motors and hit the drive motor. I think actually managed to hit it twice, killed that motor, and so they were an Omni Drive robot operating on only 2 of their 3 wheels, which it didn't really kind of shows how hard that an Omni Drive. Omni Drives are hard to drive when everything's working.
Mm-hmm.
When you lose like one of the wheels, it's just dragging. It's hard. It's probably hard as heck to drive. Chatter, I have no idea what issues they were having. Probably something involving, I don't know, But yeah,
Look,
both bots had issues.
I was gonna say, looking at that match, I have to think that, yeah, and actually, I just looked at a clip here of Shatter when it was kind of popped up in the air. Their magnets were all over the place. You know, that robot runs a lot of downforce with magnets. They grab the floor, and if those magnets get caught on the floor, like that robot's not moving. It doesn't matter how well the wheels are spinning or not. So, I think they just kept getting jammed up on the ground.
Yeah, that was kind of my stance because, yeah, you mentioned that you thought the magnets were kind of all over the place, at least with that one. I think that also could have been a combination because I think Ominous got a hit on the underside at some point in that match, and so I wonder if that possibly also rendered something, but definitely. Yeah, Adam talked about at the end of the match how Shatter's has been having so many drive problems, and probably is because of the magnets thing you were talking about. That would absolutely make sense why they were having so many drive problems, at least in this match. But yeah, at least in this match, yeah, like this definitely wasn't the highest quality performance. Probably also was my least favorite fight of the episode, unfortunately. Like I was hoping to see like a repeat of like Shatter and One Who. That was kind of what I was going for, at least when I talked about this fight for my prediction podcast. But yeah, sadly, it was kind of both robots were having a bunch of issues. Ominous, like Derin said, had seemed to be having issues with one wheel after a couple blows that Shatter got on it, and Shatter, on the other hand, started having drive issues partway in because of magnets. But yeah, I think the judges definitely got this one right, and yeah, both robots now sitting at 1-3 right now. Top 32 status for both these robots.
Is
Uh,
like the
oh,
only one I could see getting in is Shatter, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, what you got, Darren?
I don't. I personally, I wouldn't put either of these robots in because they just have not been impressive at all. They haven't. Ominous only has one, I think, split decision or something win against Shreddit Bro, or losses to Cloud Viper, which is pretty good. I mean, I don't think they're getting in. Shatter's lost to Huge, Horizon, and who else?
Let's see, Huge Horizon and Beta.
Ah,
Oh yeah,
and then
Beta.
they beat Ominous. I really don't think they'll get in. They might. I don't know. They might squeak in at the very little list. I don't know. I really don't think it much should get in my opinion. Take on it.
Yeah. So my takes on it, at least. As for Ominous, unfortunately, I think Ominous is out. Oh, even with the 1-3 and some reasonable quality performances, at least in this one and in the Switchback fight especially. Uh, but then Shatter on the other end. Shatter's on the bubble for me. But if I was the selection committee, I probably would not accept Shatter because I think we've seen some better 1-3 performing robots, and even some of the lower 2-2 robots I think I would probably accept in the top 32 over Shatter. But if I did have one spot left between these two robots, I would probably accept Shatter between the two of them. So, but hopefully we'll get to
I
see
mean that's
more of
fair.
Ominous, because Ominous, I think they showed at the beginning of this match and in their last fight with Switchback that there's a lot more to that robot than what we've seen in the beginning of the season, and we haven't seen the full potential of it. And also, shout out to the Wyachis when they did their live stream where they showed never before seen clip. Ominous accidentally flipped themselves at the beginning of the match, and we got to see the Self Rider work on that thing. So check out the
Well,
Waiachi
still,
live
boys.
check out the Waiachi live stream, at least at that
Dang.
point, to see that happen, and it was kind of funny to see.
Still,
So
boys. That's what I've been waiting for.
yeah,
I've been waiting all season just to see Ominous Self. Right. All right. I can stop watching Battlebots now.
I mean, obviously.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, unless if there's anything more to talk about, should we talk about the next fight then? Next fight.
Okay. Can I ask Ricky a quick question because I had to go during that section?
Go for it.
All right, Ricky. Who would win
Mm-hmm.
between Mammoth and Cobalt?
Who would win? You know, Cobalt was a robot that we were horrified to fight at one point. There was some. We had some reason to think that we were going to fight Cobalt and Endgame one year, and we have an idea. We had an idea of what we would do instead. And in fact, we've got an alternate weapon lined up for fighting Cobalt. So I think if our alternate weapon worked, it would be fantastic. And I think if it didn't, we would really need those forks to work well. But I think we have a pretty good chance because I don't think Cobalt is going to shred through the robot the way a lot of people think it would shred through the robot.
True.
They'd probably take our front legs off, and we'd probably do a lot of front flips. And we'd have to get back up. We'd need to get back up on our feet real quick. But it wouldn't. We wouldn't be Swiss cheese afterwards. So I think we'd have a pretty good shot.
You would win, trust me.
Got it. Okay. Well, I'm glad you've done the math. I'll. Well, you've run the simulations, frankly, right?
We ran the simulation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
okay. Well,
basically what we've been talking
I
about.
said-
Basically what we're talking about.
I'm gonna trust the science.
Yeah, like what we're talking
Yeah.
about, at least when Blaze has been talking about Cobalt beating Mammoth. Basically, we did this one-on-one competition between two of our other friends, Captain Mantine and Civilian Arc, on the Battlebots Reborn pack for Robot Arena 2, and where basically both sides would draft a bunch of robots, and we'd pair them against each other for points on each side. Basically, Civilian Arc drafted Cobalt, Mantine drafted Mammoth. Those two ended up getting paired up with each other, and basically then Civilian Arc's laughing and when I announced that matchup's happening. Everyone else is going, "Oh shit!" That hearing that Cobalt was about to take on Mammoth in that thing, and believe it or not, Mammoth ends up winning that match. So
As all
Man-
of
I don't
us
think
expected the
Mantine-
entire time.
yeah,
Exactly.
and then
I think Mantine was actually saying that he was going to win that match. So
I don't remember, but yeah, and then the
I'm pretty
Dominus
sure he was, or
Ignis
something like that.
is somebody I've been talking with a lot more lately. He's been doing a bunch of promotional videos, challenge videos on the new Battlebots pack for the made by Charlie of Good Rebuttal, and he did a challenge video to win a certain number of fights with Mammoth, and he always ends those things with a group rumble, and Cobalt happened to be in one of those rumbles, and he proceeded to beat Cobalt with Mammoth in that one. So,
Well, I mean, that's not. I wouldn't like not to say that that's not impressive. But Cobalt is OP as fuck in that mod.
I think they're
That
both
pack.
OP. Mammoth is pretty OP in the pack too, but it still was
No,
awesome.
I'm talking.
regardless.
Oh yeah, Mammoth. That's what I was talking about. Not. I mean, Cobalt's OP, but
Oh, yeah.
Mammoth is a different breed.
Yeah. Anyway, should we move on to the next fight then? After that fun Mammoth Cobalt discussion.
Siv's gonna hate us for that.
Yeah, he probably will. We haven't let Civ live that one down. But... Okay, so next fight, Horizon and Triton. So another must-win fight because both robots are sitting at 1 and 2 right now, and I'd say Horizon was probably in the better 1 and 2 situation after that victory over Shatter in their previous match, but Triton, another one not to joke around with either. So they've had some pretty stunning performances of their own. So yeah, lots of us were betting that this one was probably going to come down to, because both robots are kind of glass cannons, who was going to break the other one down first. And we got to see some breaking down on both sides, but unfortunately ended up being Horizon losing drive first. At least the entire drive, actually. A little bit of that later on. Some of you want to share your thoughts on this match?
Okay,
Now, Green, I don't know why you're talking about them being glass cannons. Neither of them are double jeopardy, so therefore they're not glass cannons. This is how that works, right?
Fair.
Pun
Right?
sucked worse. Okay, that pun sucked worse than a paper straw. Now on to the fight.
I can make it worse.
Anyway, so this fight was pretty good. Triton finally showing a bit of what it can do in the arena. They showed really good abilities. They showed really good crab walking abilities. They lost drive on that one side. They were really they were really able to maneuver that thing quite expertly around and get to Horizon's wheels and really messed them up, which caused them to get KO'd. great. I think that's pretty good. Triton finally showing off a bit more of what it's capable of. I think next season, once they iron out all the bugs, they are going to be quite the force to be reckoned with.
Do you know what was going on with Triton's
Horizon,
weapon out of curiosity in that match?
let me. I
Yeah.
think it had something to do with. Wait, Ricky, were you gonna say something?
No, I just coughed a bit.
Okay, if I were out to say something insightful about this fight, like, oh, I don't know, because you were.
Hmm?
Let's see. Glitch. Apparently, they were having some motor ESC issues that had been caused by the glitch fight that they still hadn't solved. And the weapon oil light bushings for the aluminum hub were fresh, and it caused the weapon to lock up a little bit.
Mm.
Ah, gotcha. That makes sense.
Interesting.
Want to talk about the
They
fight,
weren't
Blaze?
This is very funny. Okay. Yeah, this fight is a fight that happened. I will say that it was definitely funny to see Triton's weapon turning off and on again. Like, so you see, what actually happened is that when you have issues with like your computer or something, and the first thing they tell you is to turn it off and on again. Well, they thought, hey, let's do that to the robot weapon. So that's what they were doing. Trust me. I know this. I'm just speaking facts right now, okay?
You're a genius,
Anyways, I don't
Blaze.
serious. No, I'm not. Oh my
Wow,
goodness.
he wasn't accepting that. I was just complimented him.
I'm being real with. I'm gonna keep it 55th Street.
There you go.
No. All right, I'll keep it 55th Street. This fight was actually pretty good. It was a lot better than I expected because I really just expected either uh, Triton or Horizon to just randomly die, which I mean it kind of happened, but it was actually pretty entertaining. So yeah,
Absolutely. So,
I was really interested to see how this fight was going to play out when we were watching in the pits, and Triton is a. It was interesting to me from a technical standpoint because Triton has this enormous blade and a whole lot of energy in it, and if Horizon did its job, all of that would get transferred into its double spinning arm assembly, and you'd have this really neat double whammy, double tap kind of effect. It's the kind of thing I really wish. Yeah, not you'd have this really interesting Horizon effect. I
oh
really
Horizon,
wish we'd been able to see that happen at least once, where Horizon kind of did what you hope Horizon was going to do. And it almost did. Like, it got close, but just the single, like, oh, Triton whapped Horizon, and Horizon whapped back against the side of Triton in a 1-2 punch kind of thing. Because there was contact in both directions, but not that, like, decisive, hard counter to a big horizontal spinner that I was hoping to see.
yeah. Maybe we'll see Horizon fight like Bloodsport or Rotator or something to make up for that or something, but we'll see. But yeah, my analysis on this one, I enjoyed this fight. Like I thought, like even though both robots are kind of having issues during this match because Triton was having trouble spinning the weapon up, and Horizon lost the spinner very early on in this match, but it was enjoyable to see. It kind of ended the way I was expecting it to, because I was expecting Triton to eventually disable Horizon's drive, but Horizon did quite well in this match, like for what it looked like. Because Derin mentioned this when Derin was talking about this one, but Chris and Kenny did not mention this like at all during the match. But Triton was crab walking for most of that fight, because Horizon got a very early hit on the one of the drive sides, and looks like that resulted in the ESC thing that Derin was talking about. So then we ended up seeing Triton crab walking for most of the match, but it was great driving on Triton's end from there to prevent Horizon from getting another hit like on that other drive side. So yeah, was a pretty quality performance overall from Triton, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go from there, at least top 32 wise, if they get into the bracket and all. So
Number 30. Number 30. Let's go.
yeah, let's go ahead and share top 32 status. Blaze has already started. Keep going, Blaze.
All right, Triton's gonna make the number 1 seed here. Okay, and my reasoning for this is that you see secretly everyone else at every single other BattleBot just for some reason just didn't work except Mammoth. Actually, so Horizon's gonna be the number 2 seed. Okay, and then it's just Mammoth versus Horizon, and Mammoth wins. Therefore, Mammoth has the giant nut right now. Okay, there we go. End of story. I just spoiled BattleBots for you guys. Sorry.
Like you do. It's okay.
Yeah. What you got, Derin?
Triton will probably make it in because it's 2-2, and I think they'll get a pretty lowish seed because again, not that impressive victories, but it's had but it has 2 wins, so I think it'll get in. Horizon, I doubt it. They just haven't been that convincing this season. Hope they come back with better weapons. I think it'll be good. Sure.
Yeah. So my takes on this, and then I'm gonna mention one more thing following this. Yeah, Horizon. Sadly, I don't think they're gonna make bracket, even though that victory against Shatter was oh so amazing thing to see, and made me so happy to see that thing not just work, but get an awesome victory in the process. Triton. I'm on the bubble with Triton right now. Like I could see, like, I think they're either going to be one of the bottom seeds or they might not make bracket personally, because I would probably accept a couple 1-3s over Triton at the time. And like right now with my predicted bracket, I have them at 34 right now. So I have them off the bracket, but I hope that's not the case because I would love to see Triton make bracket and maybe we'll get to see it make some noise because I still think we haven't seen the full potential of Triton yet. And maybe we'll see it once again in the future, or kind of. But the thing I do want to address, the one big thing I've disliked about this season so far is kind of like the amount of foreshadowing that's been going on, at least so far, by at least at least with what Chris and Kenny have been talking about, at least in the past. Like, not sure if I'm not a fan of all the playoff implication talk, at least, and they were literally talking about how they don't think Triton's gonna make bracket based on their record at the end of this match, and hopefully that's not the case at least, but like at least from a spoiler standpoint, not a fan of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So
Yeah, Black Dragon.
yeah, we'll talk
Need
about
I
that
say
later
more?
on. Thankfully Pori's not here. So yeah, because I know he has some pretty big opinions on that, but it is what it is.
Well, I mean,
And maybe that wasn't foreshadowing for the worst. At least maybe we'll see Triton in the bracket, but we'll find out at some point soon. We'll find out this Thursday. So, all right. Anything else, or should we move on to the next match? Yeah. So a battle that I felt was probably going to be a seeding showdown because I think both robots are in a great place as of right now to make bracket. Beta and Bloodsport. Both robots sitting at 2-1 right now. Beta 2 solid victories against Kraken and Shatter to start the season off, but then a brutal loss to Black Dragon for their recent fight. Bloodsport, on the other hand, started off with a brutal loss to Copperhead, and then had 2 rock-solid victories against Gigabyte and Rotator. So both robots in a pretty solid spot. So they've all had some high-quality performances so far, and this match is probably going to be a seeding showdown, as for what I think. So yeah, coming into this one, Beta came into this one horizontal armor config, the wedge, it's like what we saw in their first 2 matchups, and then the thin hammer once again that they've used for spinners, which has been a pretty effective config so far, because since Beta's been way less hesitant on using the hammer this time around. Bloodsport, like similar overhead configuration. They got a spinner designed for that, and yeah, wedgelets once again. So yeah, so we got a pretty big 3-minute showdown here, and I'll go ahead and leave the floor to you all. What are y'all's
Well, I
thoughts on
mean,
this match?
well,
This
okay,
was
so
pretty.
so Vita
Oh, I
actually
guess.
brought a weapon this time, so that's fun to see. But in all seriousness, this was a really good fight. Great showing from Vita, I would say. Not a not a bad showing from Bloodsport because they fought a pretty hard counter too. They fought a pretty hard counter in Vita,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah, Beta is essentially the perfect robot to beat Bloodsport with. They really, especially with the enormous front plow wedge, whatever you want to call it. There's very few robots in the field that are going to be harder for Bloodsport to win against.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Derin, you want to share your stance on this match?
This was a pure driving clinic from Beta. They were on top of Bloodsport for all 3 minutes. Bloodsport never really got a chance to try and hit the back of Beta at all. Like, they just Beta just controlled that entire match, got the weapon stopped, ended some nice, good, solid swings with that hammer. Just a brilliant driving match from start to finish. It's glorious. And yeah, they needed to be on point for 3 minutes because I think someone once told me that like a wedgie bot that doesn't have like a spinner as their main weapon has to be winning a fight for like pretty much all the entire time. Well, a spinner only has to be winning the fight for like a couple percentage points of the match. Ida just was on top for 100% of that match, and good on them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Uh, yeah, I forget who it was that mentioned that. At least. Gosh,
feels like something would say.
no, like
Oh wait, no, that's Two Eyes. Never mind.
it was who we had on last week, I think. Who we were talking
Oh,
about the
who did
judging.
we have?
It was the
Oh,
judging criteria.
Terratops.
Yes. Yeah, Ben was the one that telling us about that and but yeah, so I'll share my stance on this one. Like Derin said, like that was probably one of the best driving performances I think we've seen from John Reed, at least. He could not have driven that fight better in this one. But I'll credit Justin Marple as well for managing to do what he could, including being able to evade Beta to get out of the short corners a few times to get the weapons spinning up once again. I think Justin did a good job driving as well. But Beta obviously won the driving game right there and did a great job avoiding the wedgelets of Bloodsport. Because one of the concerns I mentioned in the prediction podcast, and one of the reasons why I actually had Bloodsport winning this fight, was the wedgelets on Bloodsport could possibly give them an advantage ground game wise and give them some control opportunities. But John Reed just absolutely denied that. And definitely was a pretty one-sided fight and definitely was a deserving victory. But the last thing I'll say, I'm very impressed with how well Bloodsport, the top especially, held up to this one because we saw Beta start to puncture that area, but that weapon was working for the whole 3 minutes. So Bloodsport might not have won that fight, but they sure proved their durability against a hard-hitting overhead attacker like Beta, and it'll be interesting to see what Bloodsport can do going forward. So, yeah, great victory by Beta. Definitely a better spot to be at 3-1, but yeah, I'll share my top 32 status right now. Basically, because I think it's straightforward. I think both robots are in. I don't have my seedings up, so I can't really share where I have each robot at. But if I was to place both of these robots, I'd probably put Beta in the top half of the bracket, but probably some of the early teens is probably where I'd have them. Like maybe in like the 13 through 16 area. I think it's probably around where I'd have Beta. Bloodsport, I think Bloodsport's one of the better 2-2s because Like, I wouldn't consider this exactly a bad loss because they had some moments in the match, even though they were getting bullied around the arena for most of the fight. And the rotator and Gigabyte fights were great on Bloodsport's end. So I would have Bloodsport as one of the higher 2-2s. I think if I remember right, I placed them somewhere in the low. I think I placed them somewhere like in the. I think I had them somewhere in the 21 to 24 area. So, but we'll see. We'll see when the bracket gets revealed this Thursday. But I think both of them will make brackets. So, and it'll be interesting to see how they both do.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I have Beta at the 15th seed, and for them, I have them fighting Blip, which I don't know who would win that one actually. That's
I don't
like,
think we've seen Beta fight a flipper ever since Lucky from 2016. I think I might be
yeah.
missing one. So
Well,
that'd
and
be
then I have
awesome.
I have Black Dragon. No, yeah, Black Dragon. We'll get to them later. Trust
Yep.
me. I have Bloodsport at 23, and now this is probably my favorite fight that would happen in my bracket, and that's Bloodsport versus Cobalt.
Ooh, that'd also be interesting. Uh,
Because
you got some fiery matchups that you managed to put together with your
yeah,
bracket.
and the funny thing is that I had to move Bloodsport down one because originally they fought Copperhead, and I don't think that BattleBots would want a Copperhead Bloodsport rematch.
Well, at least not
So
intentionally, but who knows?
I don't think they will.
Said
Derin, what about you?
first of all, I think they're both gonna probably make it in. No idea where. You said that Lucky was the last flipper that Bloodsports faced. You said.
That Beta fought.
Beta.
Oh, beat.
Let me
I'm
double
looking.
check that in my brain
I'm
real
currently
quick.
looking. Let's see, overhaul.
Yeah, Overhaul maybe you could count. I probably wouldn't count it exactly as a flipper since Overhaul's more of a
It
grappler
was
and
a
lifter.
grappler.
But
Yeah, you're pretty much right.
No, guys, trust me. The last flipper that Beta fought was Grabot. All right, trust me on this. Trust me.
I mean,
I
Trust
don't
me.
know what I don't know what the hell I'd classify Grabot as.
Grabot is just Grabot. Speaking of Grabot, you know what?
Peak
Sib's
BattleBot
not here. I'll
performance.
do it for him.
we already
Ricky,
asked. We already asked
I have a
Ricky that, Blaze.
oh, you already asked him?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well,
They
man, I
did.
didn't hear
They
his
did
answer.
indeed.
He picked
Okay,
Grab.
what was
No, he picked Ghost Raptor.
Yeah, I think Ghost Raptor is gonna catch on fire midway through Grabot picking up the pieces, and Grabot will just end up exploding.
Oof.
Yeah, big oof.
I guess it's more of a judge's decision, but you tell me that if you saw Ghost Raptor catch into flames in the cold metal claws of Grabot completely bursting into flames, that you're not going to give the win to Ghost Raptor. Like, you can't tell me that.
Yeah.
well, I mean,
Ghost
yeah,
Raptor
Ghost
had
Raptor won, so
Ghost Raptor had style in that fight, so obviously they'd
yeah,
win.
that's all that matters, right?
Yep.
Style points.
A
Style
match.
control.
Well, anyway, unless if there's anything more to talk about here, should we move on to the next battle then? Which I think it's
Away
Valkyrie
we
and
go.
Glitch. I think.
Oh God,
Yep,
never
Valkyrie
mind.
and Glitch, and quite a bit to talk about this one. I feel so.
Oof.
So fight number 6. Both robots. Another must-win situation. Valkyrie at 1 and 2 right now with that lone win over Banshee, and a win that was overturned or into a loss in that Malice fight. Start off the well, no, their one win was the Mammoth. They lost the Banshee fight. I'm getting mixed up.
That was hilarious when they lost. Honestly,
Yeah, but yeah, and then Glitch on the other hand, another robot having a big roller coaster of a season. 0 and 3 right now with losses to Riptide, Lockjaw, and Triton. So they're also in a massive must-win situation here. So Valkyrie came in with the fork attachment once again to try to win the ground game against Glitch if they were to go head on with each other, which makes sense to me because Glitch's drive actually has been looking quite good this year compared to what we saw last season. Yeah, we get a really tactical showdown between both robots in this one, and let's go ahead and share the. I'll give the floor to you three.
Uh, Radio. Oh. I just like to clear the air here, I guess, by saying that Valkyrie was showing hesitation because Glitch was being counted out, and also because Glitch has killed other robots by kind of sort of playing dead and then turning around at the last second when a robot comes in to attack it. So I think they're being smart not attacking Glitch when they were stuck. Valkyrie was. Second, holy shit, Valkyrie. Also, poor Glitch. Never have I seen a better depiction of the sophomore slump than with Glitch. Going 0-4 after winning basically 7 fights in kind of a row last season. That is impressive. That is impressive work. Just great job, Glitch, doing it for the meme. I like that gusto. Also, damn, that weapon split. That's gonna be a really good thing to see on eBay in a couple days. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of damage.
I think Glitch actually has parts up on eBay right
do.
now. Go check them out.
I'll check.
I don't think the weapon was part of it, if I remember right.
I
But
don't think the weapon's part of it.
it might be in the
Because
future, though.
Zarawards, they probably sold it to Lars, honestly. Let's be real here.
That's a strong possibility, because I absolutely could see Lars messaging
Lars would want
Kyle
that,
to see
probably.
if he could get that part. But Blaze, you want to share your
Yeah.
stance on this match?
I honestly, I was really hoping for another great season of Kill Yourself on Glitch. Too bad we didn't get to see it this time around. Hopefully next season, though. Next season's Kill Yourself on Glitch will be a lot better. I mean, we'll actually get to see people kill themselves on Glitch.
Yeah, that's fair. I forget what Mantine termed that season, at least for this year. But
Oh, yeah. Did he make a term for it?
I think so. After the Riptide
1 second,
fight.
I got this.
But yeah, I'll share my stance on this one. This fight pretty much went the exact opposite how I was expecting it to. I had Glitch winning this fight because I was very concerned about a weapon-on-weapon shot possibly decapitating Valkyrie once again, like what we saw in the Malice fight, and it ended up being flipped because Valkyrie managed to split Glitch's weapon on a weapon-on-weapon shot, which was not what I was expecting to see. But like Derin was talking about this because the community was going nuts over this one. Even Kenny was going crazy. Like I mentioned this in an Instagram group chat I'm in with quite a few Battlebots fans as well as a few builders. But it kind of bothered me a bit, like watching Kenny get having such an angry tone, at least at the in the first half of this match towards Valkyrie, because what my stance is basically on Valkyrie being hesitant like that, I thought that was smart and very tactical because, like Valkyrie said on social media and like Derin said here, basically Battlebots edited out clips where Glitch was actually being counted out. So and then they ended up showing enough movement to delay the countdown. But regardless, though, like it's one of those situations where you could either go in for another hit and possibly risk more damage, like what it seems like lots of people were wanting Valkyrie to go for, at least in this one, or you could hang back, take the knockout, and avoid more damage being taken to the robot. And that second one seems like that's what Valkyrie was trying to go for, and I think that was a smart decision on Lucy's end. Like, I don't think Lucy drove this fight poorly at all in this one. Like, I don't care what kind of comments I get back for stating this, but I thought Valkyrie drove this fight well. So, and I stand by
I'm right
that.
there
I
with you,
stand
Chief.
by that stance. So,
Right there with you, Chief.
yeah.
Yeah, you get to that point in the season, and you're not going to risk having another. Like, forget whether or not you're going to make the bracket. Forget everything else. You don't want to risk your robot exploding and potentially jeopardizing your last win or your last chance at a win for the preseason. So I don't think anyone can really blame anybody for taking a measured approach to it.
I know the community will do it anyway, but Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much my
because this
stance is
community
exactly
can
what you
be a
said right
piece of shit
there.
sometimes.
What were you saying, Blaze?
This community can be a piece of shit sometimes.
Hey, you're not wrong about that. So, yeah, anyway, top 32 stats for both these robots.
Valkyrie's like one robot I could see getting in, but I don't have them in. They're like at like 30, like the 33rd seed or like 34 seed for me. Because there are definitely some bots I would put in over Valkyrie, but and then Glitch is 0-4. Obviously, they're gonna be the number one seed, guys. Trust me on this.
Fair enough. Derin, you
But
got your.
no,
Oh, keep going.
Glitch is out, and Valkyrie also out, maybe. But hey, who knows?
What's your stance, Derin?
On what, the
Top 32
controversy?
status. You can talk
Right.
about the controversy if you want
No,
to.
I won't. I
But,
already did.
yeah.
Glitch is not
Oh
making it in because
yeah,
they're 0-4. Valkyrie's probably gonna make it in because 2
they're
and
no fun.
2, and that's kind of my opinion ends.
It's fair.
All right,
I wouldn't even call it controversy, but Blaze, you were wanting to say
can
something?
I talk about the quote unquote controversy
Go for
real
it.
quick? All right, so if let's just like rather than just like because I have a feeling that it's more than just everything because like there was controversy sort of like this last year in what was that fight again? It's the main event next week, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Minotaur Witch Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See what you're
So
saying.
yeah, I don't think that it's just because of Lucy doing the smart thing and backing off. I have a feeling that there is some sort of I'm not gonna say it, but like look, put yourself in Lucy's shoes and because she could be making bracket, all right? You don't want to have unnecessary damage, as Ricky said.
Yeah.
Not to mention that it's not your goddamn fucking choice to make. All right, it was Lucy's choice, and you should respect her for that, or her team's choice. I don't know exactly how the fights work, but respect other people's choices. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Absolutely. What's really funny is when you were talking about that, what that made me think of is Aftershock and Robot Wars Series 10. Will's
Oh no.
father adding the kill switch because he felt that Will went in for too much unnecessary damage in some of their fights from previous seasons. Just that was so funny, at least. But
I had no idea about that.
yeah,
But yeah,
it was announced right before the Rumble between Aftershock, Eruption, and Crackers and Smash. But yeah, my stance at
that's
least on their
hilarious.
next opponents. Glitch, I think, is out for sure. Hopefully we'll get to see some improvement at least in Battlebots champions. It seems like they've just been having so many issues with traction, and because like they've mentioned before in Discord that they that they that especially in the test box, like they've been driving fine, including they could drive upside down, but that hasn't been the case at least in the battle box. And from what I've heard, it sounds like they're ditching Omni wheels for next season, which unfortunate because like
Yeah.
that's really what makes Glitch unique at least in this field. Yeah, but definitely I think it'll help with lots of their movement problems that they've been having, at least, or traction issues. Because like overall, I think the movement's been fine for Glitch. It's been better than it was last
Yeah.
season, but hopefully we'll get to see Glitch back and make some
Well,
noise. So, uh,
I mean, like, anything really is an improvement compared to last season. There's a reason we called "Kill Yourself on Glitch," "Kill Yourself on Glitch." So
yeah.
Also,
So,
why I said sophomore slump.
yeah, that's another fair way of
yeah,
saying it.
sophomore
And
slump.
then as for Valkyrie, definitely they're on the list of robots that I think are on the bubble right now because I feel they've got one of the weaker 2-2 records. I do have them in at a very low seed, so I think if my seeding guess is right, I bet we'll see Valkyrie in the bracket, but Valkyrie's likely to go up against a top tier opponent, so that'll be a
They're
big
gonna
test
beat
for
Riptide,
Valkyrie,
trust me.
and another good reason to hang back on something like this and avoid unnecessary damage, because there are bigger opponents on the way if Valkyrie happens to get into that top 32. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, we'll find out this Thursday. Will we see Valkyrie in the bracket? And if
Who
so,
knows?
who are they going to go up against? But if they don't,
Riptide, and they're
hopefully,
gonna win.
hopefully we'll see them. Hopefully we'll see them in champions, and hopefully we'll see them make some noise and that, like what I'm hoping for Glitch. So, anything else on this, or should we move on to the main event?
Main event. Main
event.
event.
An event. Oh,
Thank you.
Main event.
This fight.
So this one, Black Dragon and Riptide. So Battlebots has really been hyping up the fact that Black Dragon is one fight away from tying Bite Force with the record of no knockouts on that robot at least. So and now they got what was probably one of the worst opponents for that, Riptide, who has been on an absolute killing spree so far with that 3-0 record. Quick victories against Glitch, Mad Catter, and Captain Shredderator. Black Dragon still in a good spot regardless. 2-1 record right now with that lone loss to Quantum, but then two solid victories over, well, relatively solid one against Monsoon and a solid victory against Beta. So pretty good spot for Black Dragon, but tough matchup here. And this fight went pretty much exactly how I expected it to. And sadness that one of my favorite robots out there did not come out on top in this one. But regardless, it's what I expected it to happen. So, floor to you guys.
all right.
I'll let
So,
you first. Hold on a second.
all right. So, I'm happy to see that Black Dragon won. So, yeah. I mean, beat a bot that didn't. It fought a bot that didn't exist. So, I mean, there's no way that it could lose, right? You can't lose to something that doesn't exist. So,
Apparently.
exactly. One having.
What you
Oh,
got,
never
Derin?
Okay, this fight was quite good. Very, 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 very short, and honestly, I kind of don't think they. I mean, dang, like I think Black Dragon messed up massively with that. They tried to get around Riptide and tried to do some fancy something to, I don't know, and then Riptide just went straight at them, and then it was kind of over from there. So, not really much to say. Honestly, this was just a smashing fest from the Riptide. I can at least say this: they didn't go in for a late hit.
Yay!
Makes me wonder.
After all the
Makes
other
me
stuff
wonder
you did
if
wrong.
the crew talked with them about it to talk about avoiding that in the future, or something.
Hope
But
so.
I don't know.
Definitely, I probably. Ricky, you were there. Did they do this?
Did they do
Do
what?
you know if they did this? Talk with their head about weight hits and stuff. Do you know if they did that?
They. I'll put it this way. I don't know what conversations they had. I know there were talks that happened after a few of the fights. But even, one way or another, regardless of BattleBots talking to them or not, people talk to them. There was a lot of stuff going back and forth about the whole Riptide situation. So, I don't know, what the motivation was, but there was a lot of, there was some effort at certain points from Riptide to do I'll say a better job, but try to anger people less. Put it that way.
That's
So,
a pretty
yeah,
good
I
way
don't
to
know
say
if-
it. I say. So.
Yeah, trying to because they. I don't know everyone on the Riptide team, and I don't know any of them particularly well. but I have talked to them on occasion, and there are at least some people on that team that seem interested in figuring out how to upset fewer people and rustle fewer feathers. I uh, I've gotten to see a few of those people speak up at times, and I'm glad to see that it got a little better through the course of the season.
Yeah, Lars and I even had like a long conversation in Discord DMs about the Riptide Captain Shredderator fight as I was watching that episode, and Lars mentions that he knows the Riptide team quite well. Well, some members of them quite well, and sounds like lots of them are really kind people, and we're looking to, like you said right there, make an effort towards making things better and angering less, so that Riptide team angers less people. But
yeah,
crazy
it's
stuff.
tough. It's tough too, and I try to keep this in mind as a competitor. That it doesn't take a lot a lot of direction change, up, down, left, right, good or bad, for the entire team to seem like good or bad folks or everything else. But all these teams are made up of a bunch of people. We don't have teams, to my knowledge, in a while now that are truly one person. I mean, even famously, Rusty is just David, but it's he's got other people that help him.
Yep.
And we as captains sit in front of the camera, and we are the most vocal and visible part of the team. But the teams are a lot more than that. There are teams that are, generally speaking, the nicest group of people ever, who have someone who gets in front of the camera, and either based on perception or based on reality, that person doesn't seem like a great representative, but the rest of the team might be delightful. And the opposite happens too. There's some really wonderful, charismatic people who end up on camera leading a team, and not that their teammates are terrible people or anything, but if it was anyone else representing that team, you'd be like, oh, they're just another team. So you gotta. I think it's worth remembering that there is a wide range of people that go into these teams, and even if you are judgmental against Riptide or someone else, some other team, they are not one person. It's a group of people, and you don't want to hate on the entire group. You really don't want to hate on anybody. You can have non-positive judgments, but that's not the same as being, angry and hateful and that sort of thing. So
yeah. So yeah.
Anyhow, my little ramble there, but I know I'm always terrified that I'm going to be on screen, say something wrong, and it's going to reflect poorly on my team, and
it makes sense, and I think what you said is absolutely accurate, and in the standpoint, and especially it matches a lot of what Lars told me about the team and what he knows about quite a few of those other team members. So yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing. So
sure.
But yeah, my stance on this match, like I said already, this fight went pretty much exactly how I expected it to. I think Black Dragon, I'm not sure about the strategy idea, because they talked about prior to the fight that what they were going for was taking advantage of Riptide's gyroscopic forces issue, because I think they knew right off the bat if they went head on, it'd just be Copperhead and Black Dragon all over again, basically, but worse, because I'd say Riptide's a harder hitting spinner than Copperhead is, and that's hard to say because Copperhead does hit really hard. So yeah, looks like what they were trying to go for, take advantage of the gyroscopic forces, and obviously Ethan Kurtz denied that really well with his driving style of just charging right in there, getting that first hit, and then letting hit after hit till their opponent's dead. That's pretty much what happened in this one, and Black Dragon ended up suffering its first ever KO, and Bite Force keeps that record of longest streak with that knockout. So, but
we'll see it come to an end shortly.
hopefully.
Trust me.
So I don't know who's the next closest, at least with the active streak, because I know Rotator was ranked number 3 and that list was 17, but they were KO'd. Well, I think they're I
Twice.
think that streak ended. I think when they got KO'd by Glitch, which yeah,
Yeah,
last
three
season.
times.
So
Yeah, they got KO'd 3 times. Yeah.
I don't know who's the next closest to
Trust me,
breaking
Vice
that
Force's
record.
comeback. Vice Force is gonna come back and just keep on increasing the streak.
But yeah, next topic I figured to talk about before we go to top 32 status at least, and I know Pori, if he was here, he would have some strong opinions on this, but yeah, this is another
Oh
one where
no.
I think the foreshadowing thing I think was kind of irritating, and I think they kind of went too. I think they went too far, at least, with talking a lot about Black Dragon's streak without a knockout, at least, because talked about all 3 of Black Dragon's fights, this record. Same thing with Riptide after the Captain Shredderator fight, and then they brought it up like 5 to 10 times during this episode. Like, I definitely like the idea of them acknowledging that this robot's about to break a record like this, but I think they did it a little too much and kind of went too overboard, at least with that. But I don't know if you all have some different opinions or want to share your stance on it or anything, but up to you. So.
Yeah, I think that's about what my opinion is on it. Because on one hand, I do like the fact that they are acknowledging Black Dragon was was about to break the record. But then on the other hand, the amount of foreshadowing was very it was yeah, a lot. But
Yeah,
I do think that like some foreshadowing is nice to have, but oh well.
yeah, because like obviously, like I think it's cool that they're bringing up this thing, like you and I both said, Blaze. But then, yeah, it's just when it gets, I just think when it just goes a little too far, at least, is where it kind of draws the line right there. At least from my standpoint, I'm sure there are other people out there that don't mind, and that's totally fine. We all have different opinions, and I respect those. So, uh, yeah, should we talk about top 32 stats for both these robots then?
They're both probably gonna make it in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's all I'll
one
say.
second. Let me find the exact seatings.
I'll share mine while you're doing that, Blaze. So I have both robots in the bracket. I have Black Dragon, and I think I think I had Black Dragon actually one spot below Bloodsport, or in that 21 to 25 range area, if I remember right.
Okay,
And then Riptide,
that's good.
I think I had Riptide as the 2 seed actually coming to this. I think Riptide, without a doubt, will have a top 5 seed. And probably
It should.
higher than that. Riptide is probably another. I think if the winner of Minotaur or Witch Doctor does not get the 1 seed, I think Riptide will get the 1 seed.
Quantum gets the 1 seed, guys. Trust me.
But Riptide is like ranks number 2 between the robots that I think could take home the 1 seed for the bracket. So, because Riptide's just been looking
All right.
ferocious this season with 4 quick knockouts, and some of them against some very high quality opponents too. So Riptide's
All
definitely in
right.
line to make a major run for the Giant Nut once again this year, like what we saw last season. So it'll be interesting to see what we get out of Riptide, at least for these next few performances. At least when we see Riptide in the bracket. So. And there's
Boy,
BBN
All
right
right.
as we're finishing this up. So,
Oh,
Oh
right.
wow.
Up.
yeah,
Yeah.
want to share your stance on Black Dragon and Riptide? Talk about the fight, and then share your top 32 predictions for them.
Sure. How do I succinctly put this? Um, I'm not a fan of Riptide. I'm also not a fan of. I mean, this is just a gripe with the show. I'm not a fan of how production was like. Yeah, let's have the entire season have Black Dragon hint on the fact that it can break a Bite Force record, the best robot in the modern era. And then just poof, they're dead. It's gone. But kudos to Riptide. They're a very powerful weapon. You gotta respect that. And I realistically think going into the tournament, the robots that can win are the robots that can out Riptide. Like who can what robots have the potential to just outperform Riptide in
Mammoth.
just like an onslaught of damage. Exactly. As for rankings, I think Riptide's gonna get the second seed. I still feel like that first seed is whoever wins Minotaur and Witch Doctor. As for Black Dragon, it's 2-2, which I mean that's an interesting spot for it. That's for sure. If it was 3-1, I would definitely say it could deserve a top 10 seed. But I'm leaning for like the bottom of I'm like high teens, low 20s, somewhere in between that 22 to like 22, 23 to 17 is probably where it's gonna end up.
For sure. Makes sense. Blaze,
Yep.
you want to share yours now that I'm guessing that's enough time for where you found out your info?
Yeah, I found it. Went to look at who joined. Saw BBBN. Oh well. Anyways, so I have Riphead as the 2 seed, and for me, they would be fighting Big Dill, which I think is a Big Dill dub. So yeah.
Fair.
And for Black Dragon, I have them at 21 fighting Lockjaw. Who
Ooh, rematch.
I mean,
That is a rematch. Holy,
it's like
you're right.
it's a rematch that I would be okay with having because I could see that going either way.
Yeah, it was a good fight the first showdown they had too, so it'd be interesting. So yeah, anything else on this fight then? Before I ask my last question. Alright, so last question then. They hyped up Minotaur and Witch Doctor for the next main event, which I think is obviously going to be the main event, and they showed off the fight card. I'm not going to ask for predictions from those previous 6 fights, but who you got for the main event? Who you got winning between Minotaur and Witch Doctor? Because that should be a banger main event. Here, I'll just reveal mine right now because I already recorded my prediction podcast for this. I got Minotaur winning this one,
yeah,
obviously.
figured.
Brazil.
Oh,
I-
am I gonna be the contrary? Am I gonna be the contrarian here?
Go for
Is
it.
that what's gonna happen?
You're guessing
Is
you're
that
a
what's gonna
Witch
happen?
Doctor?
We saw. For the Spice get up because I mean it's for as much as I think this is a 50-50 fight. I don't know. I feel like Witch Doctor always comes down with like the really intense fights where it's it and a different like another really strong robot and they're going toe to toe, shot after shot between like just a robot. It shows that like I don't know. I just have a gut feeling it's a Witch Doctor. I don't have any like big reasoning. What they could do is like bring in their forks like they did against I can't remember which fight they brought him in
Gruff.
with. It was Gruff. I think that's going to be very helpful for them because it can you can sort of get under Minotaur because they don't have those they don't have forks. They just have those little nubs to keep the weapon from just like colliding into the ground. So I mean it'll definitely have ground game, and it. I think it really depends on how good Mike lately drives and how I don't want to say bad, but like if Daniel Freitas makes a driving mistake, give me Witch Doctor. I'll take it.
Oh yeah, and I don't hold anything against you for choosing Witch Doctor there, because like I personally think that is a 50-50 fight. Like both robots have been looking so strong this year, and I seriously am in belief that that fight could go either way. I would not be surprised if Minotaur wins it. I wouldn't be surprised if Witch Doctor wins it. Like that's just that even of a fight, and that should be a great way to end qualifiers because that's the last match before they announce the bracket. So it should be great. So what you got there?
50-50 fight. I want Witch Doctor to win because I'm from Florida, and Witch Doctor is one of the teams I can call one of my favorites because Florida, and I've also actually met the team, so that's pretty cool. So I'm always rooting for them. I honestly don't know what to expect. This is just gonna be a really good fight. I expect really good things to happen here. I don't really have anything more specific other than it's really gonna come down to who's better at driving and who can outlast the other and who can get the better shots in. It's really gonna be coming down to the wire. I think it's gonna go the distance actually, and it's probably gonna be a split decision. Not for it being bad because that's because it's gonna be a split decision. I think it's gonna be that close. Expecting something like that.
Absolutely. You got any stances on this, Ricky? Or anything you would want to share?
No, I think you all, with interest of not revealing anything coming up, is the only question I have. So I think I'll leave it be with what you all have said.
That's completely fair. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that main event, and I'm hoping Battlebots doesn't bring up the controversy from last season at least too much. They already brought it up once in the last
Well,
episode,
I think.
and I think
Well,
they're
I mean,
going.
they
I think
brought
they're
up
going
Tantrum and
to.
Hydra a lot
Yeah.
during their fight.
Yeah.
So this
Like,
season, so I'm
basically,
not surprised if they would.
Yeah, I know it's coming for sure. Or like, I guarantee they're gonna bring it up like 3-4 times. We're probably gonna hear each team's stance on it, like what we heard with Tantrum and Hydra right before that fight.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, I'm expecting
You know,
we're gonna see a good fight to end qualifiers. So, anything else?
like they'll.
Go for it.
I can imagine I can already see they're gonna be like this fight. This fight not only broke the robots, it broke the internet or something stupid like that. They're probably gonna say it like a dumb pun.
Or it, like broke the rules of BattleBots or something.
Oh my! I mean, yeah, technically, Minotaur was breaking the rules. Yeah.
I did like how they started bringing in the internet within this a lot more over the past few seasons, ever since like the 2020 season when the BattleBots community started getting like a lot more involved online on some of these things, hearing lots of fans' stances on several of these possibly debatable and controversial topics. So
they started bringing in really the internet in the 2018 season with Minotaur versus Blacksmith, technically, because they brought up how many votes.
How many views it got?
Yeah, how many votes they got? Yeah, Minotaur versus Blacksmith was an election. Trust me, guys.
And Minotaur won by a landslide.
Yep.
Well, anything else left to share on this or the entire podcast? Ricky, you got anything you want to say?
No, I'm eager to see how you all respond to the next few episodes, and it's going to be a wild ride. I'm really excited for everyone to see the fights.
Oh yeah, 100%. And because with how stacked this field is this year, I'm like the top 32 has just been getting better and better each season as it goes by. So I'm betting we're going to see so many exciting showdowns, and I'm really looking forward to it all. I think this will be epic. So, unless if anyone objects to this, thanks for watching this podcast. Like and subscribe as usual. Everyone's channels will be linked down below, including Team Mammoth. Plan on linking to YouTube as well as social media down below. If you want to see some updates, fun content, stuff like that. So,
wait 1 second.
What's that, Blaze?
I have to do something real quick, alright?
Oh,
okay. There we go, I'm done.
Well, yeah. Thanks to Ricky Williams for coming to this podcast. It's always so much fun to get to talk with other builders during these things. It's one of the big reasons why I started inviting builders to lots of these podcasts, just because it's so much fun. It's always fun to get to talk about these fights with other fans, but then talking with the builders about it, especially fights they were in, is on a whole nother level of fun. So it's always an honor to get to talk to builders like you, Ricky. So.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for coming. And thanks for watching this video once again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
God.